All right, Mr. Hernandez, your mom went and paid your fee, so you are going to be terminated satisfactorily because you've completed everything. All right, so here's the thing you need to remember. Your mom cares about you more than anybody else out here. You understand? So when she tells you something, you probably should be best to listen to her. And don't come back here unless you're coming back to visit.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anyone else ready? All right, court is calling 2024 CR 010688. State versus Samantha Nicole Ladone. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Harris Edelman.
for the defense?
Grant Hardy for the defendant.
And are you Miss Ladone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, did you review the document entitled Motion to Enter Adjudication of Guilt and Revoke Community Supervision with your attorney? Did you understand it? Counsel, do you waive the reading? I'm sorry. State, are you all ready?
I don't have a copy of the motion.
Oh, I'll give it to you when you come up. Miss, are you the same Samantha Nicole Ladone who was placed on deferred adjudication in 2024 CR 01068 for the offense of possession of a controlled substance penalty group 1, 4,200 grams on January 13th, 2025 for a period of 7 years? Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state.
On or about the 13th day of February 2025 in Bear County, Texas, the defendant Samantha Nicole Ladone, defendant there failed to conduct herself in a proper and orderly manner when reporting to the supervision officer at the Bear County Community Supervision and Corrections Department. In that, while present for a compliance hearing with her attorney, expressed she did not want to participate in residential treatment or probation and requested to be sentenced in violation of condition 4.
All right, I'm sorry, and what's the number?
Condition number 4, Judge.
All right, to that condition, how do you plead? True or not true?
True.
Right, did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 4? Excuse me, Mr. Edelman. Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 4, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty and sentence you up to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine? Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 4? Court will find violation of condition number 4 true. Is there a proposed agreement?
That is our agreement, Judge.
And Ms. Ladone, are you asking the court to follow that agreement? Are you waiving your right to appeal? And probation,
Yes,
was there any restitution paid to Stephen Dingler? All right. And also, the reason why this is being requested by your client is because your client was sentenced to prison on another case. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And does anyone have that case number?
I was just looking for it, Judge. Judge, perhaps you can decipher it from this better than I. I don't see it on there.
It is not listed. Let me ask you, Ms. Ladone, the case that you're being sentenced to prison for your parole revocation, was that a case that's out of Bear County?
Guadalupe County.
Guadalupe County? So what I'll do is I'll just say this is to run concurrent with parole revocation. And counsel, if you're able to call the facility, they should be able to tell you. Let's see if I can look it up very quickly. And you've already been revoked, is that correct? It's not showing you up in the where I've searched. Counsel, here you are. All right, this is what the court will do. Are you asking me to follow your agreement? Are you waiving your right to appeal? Then the court will follow your agreement. The court is finding violation of condition number 4 true. The court will find you guilty, revoke you, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's to be restitution of $878.88 to Stephen, Stephen Dingler, Dingler. And this is right concurrent with parole revocation. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it? Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, good luck to you. You're welcome.
Judge, did you want me to get that cause number?
Yes, if you could get that and make sure you give it to the clerks.
I will. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Because we're gonna bring the, okay. All right, thank you. If you all come up, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Court is calling 2024 CR 009515, State of Texas versus Guadalupe Rodriguez. Could I have parties announced for the record?
Eric Baker for the defendant.
And are you Mr. Rodriguez Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, did you review the document entitled Motion to Revoke Community Supervision with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes,
Are you the same Guadalupe Rodriguez Jr. who's placed on community supervision in 2024 CR 009515 for the offense of possession of controlled substance penalty group 1, 4 to 200 grams on November 12, 2024 for a term of 5 years? Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state.
On or about the 13th day of February 2025 in Bear County, Texas, the defendant Guadalupe Rodriguez Jr. did then and there fail to conduct himself in a proper and orderly manner when reporting to the supervision officer at the Bear County Community Supervision and Corrections Department. In that, while present for a compliance hearing with his attorney, he expressed he did not want to participate in residential treatment or probation and requested to be sentenced in violation of.
How do you plead to that? True or not true? All right, did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 4, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, and sentence you up to 20 years in the prison and up to a $10,000 fine? Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true?
Yes.
Court will find violation of condition number 4 true. Is there a proposed agreement? Is that the agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
And it's my understanding that his parole was revoked as well?
It was, Judge.
Do you have the parole number or no?
I don't, Judge. I know it's a Bear County case. I can also look that up.
All right. Mr. Rodriguez, are you asking the court to follow that agreement?
Yes, I am.
Are you waiving your right to appeal?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the court will follow your agreement. The court is finding violation of condition number 4 true. The court will grant the motion, find you guilty, revoke, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. This will run concurrent with your parole revocation. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing?
No, Your Honor, I don't think so.
Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question of what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you. I'm sorry that you and also the last person who was here, Ms. Ladone, were revoked on your parole. I think you all both would have done well in your programs. So if you need anything, just let the court know. All right, thank you.
Judge, can I bring that cause number by tomorrow?
Yes, if
Okay,
you'll just give it to the
back.
clerks,
Okay,
yes.
will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Have a seat.
So let me call this. Court is going to call 2023 CR 4709. State versus Edgar Aguilar. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Megan Galloway and Jason Garahan for the state.
Defense?
Megan Enriquez and John Coons for Edgar.
All right. Are both parties ready to proceed with trial?
Yes, state's ready, Your Honor.
Defense is ready to.
And we do have an interpreter here. I know she was sworn in yesterday, but out of abundance of caution, I'm going to swear her in today again. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully translate from English into Spanish and Spanish into English, so help you God? And if you could state your name for the record.
Mariana Rios.
All right, thank you. And Deputy, whenever you all are ready. Who is her attorney?
Brandon Lopez.
All right, if can you just hold her in the back for me? And Norma, if you can call Brendan. Oh, and attorneys, if you all can make sure that for the court reporter, you have the mics on your lapels. Yes, all right.
All right, for the jury.
Let's be seated. State, call your next witness.
State Trial Officer Lawler.
Could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Corporal Trey Lawler.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Lawler, can you please introduce yourself to the jury? I am Corporal Trey Lawler with the Castle Hills Police Department. And how long have you been with the Castle Hills Police Department? I've been a police officer for Castle Hills about 2 years. And did you have to go through certain training and become a police officer for Castle Hills? Yes, sir. I went through a 6-month police academy, and before that, I went to the Bear County Sheriff's Office Jailers Academy. And previously to becoming a police officer for Castle Hills, where did you work previously? I worked for the Bear County Sheriff's Office as a jailer. And then previous to the detention, I guess the detention officer? Before that, where were you at? I was an infantry squad leader for the United States Marine Corps. I think, if I remember right, that's the extent of your career so far after high school, is that right? Yes, sir. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and jump into why we brought you in today. I'm gonna take you back to March 16th, 2023. At roughly 1000 hours, which is, I guess, 10 a.m. in the morning, is that correct? Yes, sir. Were you on duty that day? Yes, sir. And were you dispatched to a scene around that time? Yes, sir, I was. And why were you dispatched to a scene, and where was that scene? So I was dispatched to a scene on the 2000 block of the eastbound main lanes of 410. And did you go to that scene? Yes, sir, I did. And then were you subsequently asked to go to a different scene? Yes, sir, I was. And where was that scene located? So that scene was approximately a half mile away off the highway on the frontage road. I'm gonna approach you and show you what's been marked state exhibit number 23. Come to it here. State exhibit number 23. One, can you identify that? Yes, sir. What is it? That's gonna be a map of right around Castle Hills. Okay, and that's where you are a police officer? Yes, sir. And now the secondary scene that you spoke of that you were called to, can you just take this pen and circle that area, generally where that area was? Yes, sir. Very, okay, so you put a small circle here, and it looks like it's on the side of the highway, is that correct? Yes, sir. So was this on the highway, or was it slightly off the highway? It was off the highway, sir. Okay, and what highway was that? That's gonna be Northwest Loop 410. And then heading which direction? Can be eastbound. And then also, what road, or is that an exit or an access road? What is that? That's gonna be the access road. And you know which access road, what is that leading to? Yes, sir. It's leading to Blanco Road. Blanco Road? Yes, sir. Okay. And then back here, it looks like a big extra intersection here. What intersection is this that I'm pointing out? It's gonna be I-10 northbound and 410. And then going, I guess, slightly west or southwest, what intersection is at 410 here? It's gonna be Fredericksburg and 410. Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter into evidence state exhibit number 23. We'll turn it to defense, sir. We have no objection.
All right, states at number 23 is admitted without objection.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
That small circle is where you ended up being called to. Is that correct? Yes, sir. When you arrived at that scene, well, why were you arriving at that scene? An officer was already on scene, saying he was out with the suspect in a blue hoodie and a tan truck that we were initially looking for. And so when you arrived at that scene, did you come into contact with that officer? Yes, sir. And what was that officer's name? That officer is Captain Wayne Wagner. And was he also a Castle Hills police officer? Yes, sir. I guess captain, you said. Is that yes, sir. He's captain. And so when you arrive at the scene, what did you see? I saw the suspect in the blue hoodie walking away from Captain Wagner. And on this particular day, I guess it was light outside, is that correct? Yes, sir. And what was the weather like? It was cloudy, a slight drizzle problem. And so when you arrive at the scene, you see this individual in the blue hoodie walking away from Captain Wagner. What did you do? I approached on foot towards Captain Wagner, and Captain Wagner said that that's gonna be the suspect that's walking away from him. And then did you proceed after the individual in the blue hoodie? Yes, sir, I did. And where did the individual in the blue hoodie walk to? He started to actually run towards a tan truck just about 50 yards away. And did you follow the individual? Yes, sir. Did you speak to the individual? Yes, sir. What were you telling the individual? I was instructing the individual to stop running and to get on the ground. And did the individual comply? No, sir. What did the individual do? The individual continued to run and towards the truck.
Did he ever, was he running with his back towards you, or did he ever stop or turn towards you?
He did stop one time.
And what did he do at that point?
He balled up his fist and appeared as if he was going to swing at me, throw a punch.
And did he throw a punch?
He did not throw the punch.
And what happened at that point?
He turned back around and continued running again.
And where did he run to?
He ran to the driver's side of the tan pickup,
I'm sorry, what?
the tan truck.
The tan truck?
Different.
And you, this tan truck that you're speaking of, what type of truck was it?
It was gonna be a tan Dodge Ram 2500.
And I know that you have your report in front of you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And well, unless you remember, do you remember what the license plate number, the Texas license plate number of that truck was?
It'd be RDT 5133.
And this is the vehicle that the individual in the blue hoodie was running towards that truck.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of the individual in the blue hoodie, do you see that individual in the courtroom here today?
Yes, sir.
Can you please just point at him and identify an article of clothing he's wearing?
Yes, sir. He's gonna be right there in the blue tan or a plaid shirt.
Okay, thank you. Let the record reflect that the officer has identified the defendant in this case. Now, sir, when this individual ended up at did he ever make it to the tan truck?
Yes, sir, he did.
And what happened when he made it to that truck?
He appeared as if he was trying to enter the tan truck
And
on the
what,
driver's side.
and what did you do at that point?
At that point, I took my forearm and I placed it into his back, across his shoulders, and pushed him into the truck to stop him from getting inside.
And was he complying with you at any time?
No, sir.
And so what I mean by complying, were you telling him to stop, or what were you telling him at that point?
At that point, I was not telling him to stop. No.
And what happened after you pushed the individual against the truck?
I attempted to restrain him by his wrists behind his back.
And what happened after that?
He was able to push off and turn around.
Okay, and then were you all next to each other, or was there distance between each other?
Initially, we were face to face, probably 6 inches apart.
Okay, and then what happened then?
It appeared as if he was trying to grab items off of my duty belt.
And what did you do at that point?
At that point, I pushed him away, trying to create some distance.
And why would you make the distance between you and a suspect?
Just because it appeared as if he was trying to reach something on my belt. I didn't want to have him to have access to anything on my belt.
And what is on your belt?
I have a Glock 45, it's a 9mm, firearm, taser, and handcuffs.
And so at that point, you made some distance between you and the suspect, and what happened at that point?
At that point, I drew my taser and pointed it at the suspect.
What did the suspect do at that point?
He walked forward with balled up fists, and he shouted, "Do it," as I had the taser pointed at him.
So he shouted, "Do it," towards you,
Yes, sir.
and I'm not gonna ask you to speculate what that meant, but what did you do at that point?
At that point, I announced taser 3 times, and I pulled the trigger and tased him.
And did the taser make, I guess, can you explain to the jury how the taser works, if you deploy it from a distance?
So if you deploy a taser from a distance, it'll shoot 2 prongs into the individual, separating them across body. A good connection when you make a good connection on them, it'll shut down their muscular functions, and they'll typically fall to the ground.
Okay, and so the prongs, are they attached to wires?
Yes, sir.
And so they would shoot out of the end of the taser, and they're like darts, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And they have little barbs on them,
Yes, sir.
so they can catch into the skin and make contact, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess people have seen it in the movies, these tasers flying out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is what used on this individual at that point.
Yes, sir.
Did it have any effect on the individual?
It stunned him for approximately 1 second.
And what did that individual do at that point?
He was able to turn away and break the connection.
And then did he approach you, or did he run away from you?
He turned around and ran towards or around the front of the tan truck.
And what happened at that point?
At that point, Detective Alcala and Detective Munoz were able to make scene as well and provide assistance.
And at this time, you said, I guess 2 additional officers arrived at the scene to assist you.
Yes, sir.
And were y'all able to, at that point, did the defendant comply and be detained?
He did not comply, but he was detained.
And so I guess y'all had to use force against the individual to detain him,
Yes, sir.
and at that point, was he ever taken into custody in handcuffs?
He was taken into custody in handcuffs.
And then subsequently, was that individual searched?
Yes, sir.
And who was he searched by?
Myself, sir.
And on his person, did you find anything?
Yes, sir. I found approximately $135 and the pipe that's commonly used to smoke methamphetamine.
And where did you find the money and this pipe for methamphetamine?
It's gonna be front left pocket.
And was this all on a body cam?
Yes, sir, it was.
And I'm gonna show you what's been marked state exhibit number 24. The envelope that enclosed in that envelope as it is. Do you recognize that disc?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how do you recognize that disc?
That's gonna be my body cam footage for that day.
And so, how do you know that is the body cam from that day?
It's initialed by myself and with my badge number as well on the bottom.
So you've had an opportunity to view it and except for some of the things that have been redacted and the audio had been muted, is there anything else that's been changed about this body worn cam?
No, sir.
And so this fairly and accurately represents that, thing.
Yes, sir.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer state exhibit number 24.
No objection.
All right, state's exhibit number 24 is admitted without objection.
Publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Callaway? Thank you. This body cam is from the scene that day where you said that the defendant, that you apprehended this defendant that you saw in the courtroom today.
Yes, sir.
Since there's no audio on this, I'm gonna be speaking at the portions of this and asking you some questions. Right now, like you stated before, this is your body worn cam, and I'm sorry, are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
Uh, so your body worn cam, do you have your body worn cam on right now?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, well, can you just stand up and point to the jury where it would be at on your vest or on your shirt?
About mid chest.
Okay, thank you. And so that's what we're looking at right now. I see that you sort of looks like you're moving, and who are you approaching right in front of you?
That's gonna be Captain Wagner.
Right here what is he doing?
At that point, he was pulling up his fist and approaching me in an aggressive manner, shouting, "Do it."
And obviously from the body cam here, this is the taser, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I see that you used the taser and you put it on his back. What were you doing at that point?
I was gonna attempt to, it's called a dry stun. It did not work.
And at this point, you'll have the individual, the defendant on the ground. Is he compliant at this point?
No, sir.
I see that there's two sets of handcuffs. Why are two sets of handcuffs used at some point?
Initially, we were not able to get his two arms close enough behind his back to complete the handcuffing. We decided to use two sets of handcuffs.
And sometimes that's used on bigger individuals.
Yes, sir.
And if you know, do you know if the individual was bleeding at any point right now?
Yes, sir.
Where was he bleeding from, if you recall?
I believe it appeared that he was bleeding from his forehead.
Was that caused by you or do you know?
He was bleeding before I had made contact with him initially.
Now, we fast forwarded to that 505. What are you doing with the defendant at this point?
At this point, we're gonna conduct a search of this person.
Now, after the initial, I guess, detaining of the individual when he was being resistant and not listening to your commands, at this point, throughout the rest of the remainder of the time you spent around the defendant, did he act out or did he become non-cooperative?
No, sir.
Now, this is the cash that you spoke about earlier, around $135 or so.
Yes, sir.
Was any, and on the body cam right now, what do you have in your hands?
It's gonna be the pipe commonly used to smoke methamphetamine.
And also, obviously, I see some denominations of currency. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything unusual about some of this currency?
Yes, sir. It appeared that I believe it's two $20 bills had been burned.
And do you know how they were burned?
I'm not sure, sir.
Now we're going to go ahead and fast forward it to around 1715 on the media player. And Officer Lawler, what are you doing at this point?
At this point, we're doing a search of the vehicle.
And this is of the defendant's vehicle,
Yes, sir.
the vehicle that he tried to run to.
Yes, sir.
And I saw just now what you're looking at on the floorboard. What is on the floorboard of the vehicle?
It's gonna be two open bottles of Dos Equis beer and then a few unopened ones as well.
It seems like there's a bag. What is that?
I'm sorry, sir, can you?
rewind it?
So I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was talking to you probably, that caused you to miss that. And that black bag, what was in that black bag?
So that black bag was the container for the 6-pack of Dos Equis and 2 unopened Dos Equis in there.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, stop that as. Officer Lawler found meth pipe in his pocket, and then you also found those beers in his truck, 2 of them open, you said. Were they empty, or what, did you investigate that at all?
They were empty, and they were cold. It just appears that they've just been recently drank.
And then the other unopened beers, do you recall how many unopened beers there were?
There's gonna be 4 unopened beers.
And I guess for purposes of the record here, in that bag, there was it looked like a cardboard container that contained these beer bottles, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, other than the individual, the defendant in this case, his demeanor was not cooperative. What was his other demeanor? Did you determine anything from him?
He's possibly intoxicated and acting erratic.
Acting erratic and possibly intoxicated. And why do you say possibly intoxicated?
Possibly intoxicated just due to the meth pipe found in his pocket and the open containers inside the vehicle.
Did you notice anything about him as like I guess his demeanor, like how he is acting, but anything else about the individual that could be a sign of intoxication?
Breaking free from the taser, typically persons that are intoxicated break free from those easier.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked state exhibit number 25 and 26. 25 and 26. Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what do you recognize those photos to be?
And that's gonna be the tan pickup or tan truck used that day.
And that would be the suspects when the defendant's vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are these photos stills from your body cam?
Yes, sir, they are.
And does it show the front of his vehicle?
Yes, sir.
What does it show about headlights and some of his bumper?
It shows damage as in broken headlight and scratch paint and dents on his front bumper.
And let me ask you about this particular vehicle. You have it listed in your report, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is it listed as?
It's gonna be listed as a 2004 Dodge Ram 2500.
And so for individuals or myself included that may not understand about what a truck of how they classify it, can you explain what 2500?
Judge, I'm gonna object unless he's some sort of expert on the classification of automobiles.
All right, now let me hear the question, then I'll hear your objection.
What type of truck is a 2500?
Judge, I'm gonna object. How would he know? There's been no groundwork laid that he's any sort of expert on a truck.
I don't understand the question of what is.
Judge, I mean, this is common knowledge that this.
All right, if you lay the foundation, the objection will be sustained.
Thank you, Judge.
Trucks. Are there different types of trucks?
Yes, sir.
And
Judge, I'm gonna take him on board there then, so I can ask him what his expertise on trucks is.
Yes, you may take the witness on board here.
For Lawler, you're a police officer, you've been a Marine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever worked in the automotive industry?
I have not.
Okay. You don't work at a car dealership?
No, sir.
You're not a designer, engineer for a car company or a truck company, are you?
No, sir.
So your knowledge of automobiles would be what a normal citizen would probably have, correct? Or maybe someone that's, even if you're into cars and trucks, you might have a slightly greater knowledge, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're by no means an expert. You're not qualified as an expert, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, you can ask your question.
I'm just asking you, from your knowledge, do you know different types of trucks?
Yes, sir.
What type of trucks are there out there?
There's gonna be light duty, heavy duty, and medium duty trucks.
And this particular truck says 2500. What type of truck is this?
I'm gonna object. What is he basing this on? What knowledge field does he have?
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna have you step outside for a moment. All rise for the jurors. I'll leave that there. You can just leave it on one of the seats. Thank you.
He hasn't answered any questions.
All right, everyone, please be seated and state, you may proceed.
Thank you. Just briefly go back to what we were speaking of when the jury was taken out. If there are different levels of Dodge pickups, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what different, I mean, I guess there's many, but on more the consumer side where you go to the dealership and buy a vehicle, what different levels are there?
It's gonna be the 1500, the 2500, and the 3500.
And so the middle tier is the 2500, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's what the vehicle that we have here today, that the defendant was driving that day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now I showed you these pictures, state exhibit number 25 and 26. I think you've already identified these as from your body cam. I'm going to tender to defense. I'm offering them into evidence, Your Honor.
All right, and what are the exhibits number?
State exhibit number 25 and 26, Your Honor, they're photos of the vehicle from the
All right.
scene.
Thank you. State's exhibits 25 and 26 are admitted without objection. Yes.
On state exhibit number 25, which I'm handing over to the jury, it shows the front end of that vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it shows some damage on that vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then state exhibit number 26 does show that vehicle at the scene. And what's in the back of that truck?
It's gonna be a toolbox.
And it looks like the lid is open, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the scene, when you testified earlier that after the defendant was detained and handcuffed and searched, that during that time, he was being, I guess, what would you consider, was he being cooperative with y'all at that point?
Yes, sir.
And do you know, do you know the language that he was speaking, or was he speaking English to you or any other language?
He only spoke English to me one time when he had said do it earlier before I tasted him. And then outside of that, he'd only spoke Spanish.
And are you a Spanish speaker?
No, sir, I'm not.
And so you didn't really have any verbal or engagement with the defendant other than the do it portion.
No, sir.
And so to be fair, if he doesn't understand English, when you're telling him to stop, he may not understand that you're telling him to stop,
That could be correct. Yes, sir.
at least in English.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at that point, did you, you had the individual handcuffed, what, did you take the individual, the defendant to jail, or what happened with the individual at that point?
At that point, Acadian EMS had shown up and started providing initial medical treatment for him.
And why was it why were they dispatched or brought to the scene?
They were dispatched to the scene due to the tasing of the suspect and the fact that the suspect was bleeding from his forehead.
So for the, I guess, the health or medical purposes for the defendant, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, when they arrived, did they assist or rather do medical care for the defendant?
Yes, sir.
And show you what's our state exhibit number 27. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is that a photo of?
That's a photo of the suspect on a stretcher.
And is this from the scene?
Yes, sir.
And this photo, where did the photo actually come from?
The photo came from the dash cam footage from my patrol car.
So you do have dash cam footage from your vehicle, but then you also have your body cam that we entered into evidence. But this is a still photo from your dash cam, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, let's take into evidence or offer an evidence. State exhibit number 27 will tender to defense for any objections.
No objection.
All right, states 27 is admitted without objection. Yes.
In that photo, it shows the defendant that he has some wrapping on his head. You didn't administer the medical care to him.
I'm sorry, sir. One more time.
You didn't administer any medical care or first aid to the defendant, right?
No, sir, I did not.
And so it seems like he's on a stretcher. I see an ambulance in that picture. Was he ever taken to that ambulance?
Yes, sir, he was.
And was he taken to a facility for medical purposes?
Yes, sir. I believe he was taken to University Healthcare, hospital. Sorry.
And I see other individuals pushing that gurney or that stretcher towards that, it looks like towards that ambulance. Were those individuals that administered medical care to the defendant that you're aware of?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, through your experiences, have you ever been to a scene or any scenes that a vehicle was used as a deadly weapon?
Yes, sir.
And so you have some experiences where a motor vehicle has been used as a deadly weapon.
Yes, sir.
And so a motor vehicle can be used as a deadly weapon, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this location that we're looking at on the body cam and the map, is that within the confines of Bear County?
Yes, sir, it is.
And just to reiterate, this happened on March 16th, 2023.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll pass the witness. Thank you.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Corporal again. You mentioned that a motor vehicle can be used as a deadly weapon. That's obvious, right?
Yes, sir.
whether it's a small car, large truck, anything like that, especially given enough speed, a car can be very deadly, right?
Yes, sir.
And, or if you run over someone even at a low speed, meaning they're on the ground and you run over them or something, you could kill them possibly, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to go back to your experience. You worked at the jail, right?
Yes, sir.
What units did you work in at the jail?
I worked a wide variety of units, sir.
Did you ever work in the mental health unit or anything like that?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you ever work in the hospital part of it or anything?
No, sir, I did not.
Did, in your
ambulance.
Okay, and as a paramedic, or how long have you been with Acadian?
I started in September of 2020.
Okay. And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in biomedical science with a minor in Spanish. I also certified in ACLS and PALS, and I currently hold a state license for licensed paramedic.
And as a paramedic, what are your duties with Acadian?
Treatment and care of patient transports and so on.
Okay. And back on March 16th of 2023, were you employed with Acadian at that time?
Yes, I was an EMT at that time.
What does EMT stand for?
Emergency medical technician.
And what's the
Lower
difference?
level.
Okay, what can you explain? What's the difference to the jury?
So it's an entry level from, you start out in EMS, which is emergency medical services. As an EMT, it's mostly just basic life support. And then you can have an advance into, I believe they call it advanced EMT. It used to be called EMTI, which is intermediate. And then the third level would be a paramedic. And that's what the ones that usually have to deal with more drug administrations like fentanyl, ketamine, higher morphine, other kind of drugs like that.
Okay. And so on March 16th, 2023, when you were paramedic, were you on duty that day?
Yes,
Okay, and were you working alone or with a partner?
with my partner.
And who was your partner?
My partner was at the time, she was Brandy Edmonds. She was a paramedic and I was her EMT basic partner.
Okay. And were you dispatched to the location of the 1000 block of Northwest Loop 410 eastbound in Castle Hills, Texas, 78213?
Yes.
Okay.
Have it for sure.
Now I'm going to show you what's been entered into evidence as states exhibit number 27. Can you identify that person right there?
That's me.
Okay, and is this the patient that was treated on that day?
Yes, that was the patient.
Okay, and the female that's in the picture, who is
That is Brandy Edmonds, my paramedic partner at the time.
that? Okay. And so when you made the location, what were you dispatched to that location for?
I believe it came out as a taser deployment in our CAD notes. I don't have those CAD notes with me, but from what I understand, it was a CAD notes on the side of the road after the driving incident.
Okay, so the CAD notes, is that something that's like a report that's memorialized at the time of
Yes, so dispatch sends, gets a call from whichever agency sends it off. And and then it gets sent to our computer on board our ambulances. And they'll tell us notes of what's going on in real time or whatever gets updated, and then we could dispatch to what it says. Like I think let me double check. I did not write this report, so, yeah, it looks like he lost 1 point in verbal, which would be most likely the confusion there. But other than that, he was able to answer, I think, other questions normally for me.
Okay, so you're saying he lost 1 point because he was exhibiting signs of confusion.
Mhm.
Okay, and could that be consistent with ingestion of alcohol and?
Yes.
Okay. We pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, defense.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sermino. I just have a few questions for you. Are you familiar, well, let me start with, do you recall or did you make a notation of Edgar telling you how much alcohol he'd had or how much, and you referred to ice, that's methamphetamine, right?
Yes.
In common street parlance, it's ice's methamphetamines, right? Did he discuss with you how much he'd consumed of either of those?
I don't remember exactly how much he said, but I did note there was a scent of alcohol for sure. And he had to ask him, he was like, "What did you take anything?" It's all in Spanish, obviously. Like, did you
Did he take anything
did you
what?
take anything? Like, did you consume anything?
Okay,
He said ice and alcohol.
did he mention any reason as to why he was taking that early in the morning?
Yeah, I didn't ask, but that's not really relevant to what we do. We're just like, hey, what did you take? I need to know how I'm gonna treat you.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to slow down
Okay.
so that the court reporter can pick up everything and so that everyone can hear you.
Sure.